Binksy, before we get started about why you decided to go to Africa for 6 months and ride your bike across the south, I want to know what got you started in your travelling journey. What inspired you to do it?
My old man, actually.
Yeah.
I started traveling with him when I was young. We went to Indonesia together, and Samoa, and New Zealand, and that type of thing. Traveling in this way, and I kind of developed a liking to it, and have been wanting to travel like that kind of ever since.
How old were you?
Gee whiz, I was about 10 when. Maybe a bit earlier, My old man was taking me kind of walking and backpacking in Australia, and then I was kind of 10 when we went and kind of trekked around Indonesia, and then 14 when we cycled around New Zealand and
14.
Yeah. So I started young, and then kind of got a liking to it, like to travel like that, and I've been, whenever I travel, it's just like that now. So
Yeah. So 10 years old, what did you do in Australia? You just went backpacking?
Backpacking.
In the van?
Hiking. No. Like out west in WA, we did the Bibbulmun Track, the Cape to Cape. On the east coast, the Great North Walk. Just lots of kind of smaller and some bigger hikes. Just get out in the bush and having a walk. So camping, that kind of thing.
Did you like it?
No.
You didn't like it?
No. When I was younger. I was complaining and
as you do.
Yeah. So, but I kind of came to appreciate it when I was a bit older, and maybe I did like it, but I wanted to be with my mates playing Xbox or whatever. But I came to like it.
And then what about in New Zealand? What did you do in New Zealand? You rode your bike.
So we cycled the North and the South Island. So we flew over to Auckland, and we rode up to Cape Reinga, and then back down and kind of down to Wellington via the kind of east coast, and then over to the South Island, and then down the kind of west coast to Invercargill, and then we flew back home to Christchurch. So that was my first kind of, I suppose, big or extended kind of bike packing, hiking adventure. So that was 2 months.
Yeah.
I think I was grade 7 and about 14. So but with my old man, obviously, but had a good time.
Yeah. Wow. At 14 was New Zealand?
Yeah.
14. You were born in New Zealand, hey?
No. I was born in Alice Springs.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah. I was born in Alice Springs, mate. Closest to, I heard someone say, what they say? Closest to every beach in Australia, Alice Springs. So.
What does that mean?
What's in the middle?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
But I didn't live there. I didn't live there too long. My folks are nurses.
Yeah.
And at the time they were doing their placement. They just finished at CDU.
Yeah.
So I just popped out there, mate, and they lived on the Indigenous community, so I kind of grew up there and then moved back into Darwin.
So your parents were big travellers before you were even born? Or not really?
My dad?
Your dad,
yeah. My dad. My mum, not so much. Like to get out and about, but no, my old man was a big traveller. So I think when he was 18, 19, I don't think you can buy him anymore, but he bought like a around the world ticket or whatever, which got you a flight to each continent, and he was off and about, and he's always had a real liking for it. And I mean, it's not for me that he took me on these things. I think he liked doing that type of thing, so he just
took you along.
Yeah. I was never planned. I was an accident. So
He's
probably along. Yeah.
Well, and he's in. Where is he now?
He's in Syria. Now.
Syria.
So he's working for MSF or volunteering for MSF.
Yeah.
He was working with like a measles kind of outbreak.
Yeah.
And he's due home now. So, but I think he's gonna go to France. He wants to do some hiking, and then he's gonna come back via there. I think he's gonna do another 3 months there, and then back to Australia. Yeah.
Did that affect like your school life at all, travelling at that age or not?
In what sense do you mean? Like I was missing out on
Yeah,
school, or no,
yeah.
no, no. We always
Going
went
during
in.
the holidays?
We always went in the school holidays. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was in school, whatever traveling we were doing was limited to that big Christmas holiday, which is whatever it is, 2.5 months.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why the biggest trip we kind of did was New Zealand. We took up that kind of whole time. So
What was your favourite one since, well, up to now, I guess,
up to now,
and exclude Africa?
exclude Africa.
Yeah.
It was definitely America.
Yeah.
Well, the Appalachian Trail. When I first finished school, it was just going to be me originally. I decided I want to have a gap year and do something. So I wanted to walk the Appalachian Trail. So the Appalachian Trail is a 2,000-mile trail from Georgia to Maine on the east coast of the States. And my old man ended up coming along, and
So you prompted it this time.
I wanted to do something,
Yeah.
and I didn't invite him.
He just
And
came, yeah.
no, I just didn't have anything organized. And then like 2 weeks before I was meant to be there, I kind of said, "Oh, do you want to come?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, right." He's like, "What do you got organized?" It's like, "Oh, nothing." It's always been the way that I've traveled, and I probably got it from him.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we were running around last minute, and yeah, we got there and spent 5 months doing that. And it was really nice to do that with my old man. So even though we'd done a lot of it, just kind of appreciate that thing. So yeah.
What do you learn about that relationship doing that?
I don't know. It's a difficult question. Like, we kind of have I suppose we have an interesting relationship. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah.
I can't really comment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't even say, I wouldn't even say you learn much about yourself doing these things. Whilst maybe you do take some things away. All the time on the trail, all I thought about was where I'm going to sleep, where I'm going to get water, and what am I going to eat. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't having really deep thoughts about life and what I'm going to do with myself. Do you know? Maybe I came away with some things after, but yeah, So in terms of my relationship with him, I guess if I can say one thing on it, I suppose it obviously strengthened our kind of connection, and we get along really well. But that's obvious. So
Were there many fights during?
no, not at all actually.
Really?
Yeah. My
Just
mom.
like best mates. Not that kind of dynamic.
No, not that kind. We don't have that. We don't have that dynamic. We couldn't hang out and have a beer. It would be weird.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
But like, he kind of did his own thing. He walked at his own pace, and I walked at mine. So, we'd chat in the day, and we'd be like, yeah, we want to get here, and I would just walk however I wanted, which was faster than him. And then he'd walk, and he'd get there a couple hours later or whatever, and so we kind of did our own thing, which never led to any tension. Do you know?
Yeah.
And you're out in the forest, living your best life, walking, and you don't have many worries. So there was nothing to really argue about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I could imagine. So 6 months together, hey, every day. In America, 5 months.
Five months in the States.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was from April 20 to sometime in September, I think.
And was it like survival mode almost there, or was it not really?
Like
you said, you were searching for food. You were
No. Like just you come across shops and towns and everything, kind of once a week, or sometimes maybe a bit earlier, sometimes maybe a bit longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were carrying everything on your back, all your water, your tent, your sleeping gear, your food, everything you needed to sustain yourself for a week, sometimes more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just meant more like, when you're walking like that, you obviously burn a lot of calories,
gotcha.
and all you're thinking about is food.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
And what introduced the bikes into it? What's that element of it? You and your old man riding the bike.
Well, we rode around New Zealand, so
Yeah.
that was the first kind of bike trip, and it's a really different way of traveling than walking. You know, it's kind of a middle ground between hiking and maybe road tripping. You can travel further distances. You still see things at a slow pace and kind of enjoy them, but it changes the logistics of it, and you can just kind of see more and visit kind of more, and but that being said, you're limited to a road. Sometimes cycling, you don't feel like you're really truly camping or out in the kind of wilderness, because you always have to be on either a dirt track or a bitumen road, or whereas kind of walking, you can be really out in the bush in the middle of nowhere. So that's kind of how the bike came into it. And I think my old man was like, let's do this. He was interested in it, and I just was tagging along at that point when I was younger. So
good for fitness as well, I imagine.
No, we never thought about it in terms of fitness. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whenever we went, it was never about that. It was just about seeing things. So you'd never catch me wearing a pair of cycling pants.
Really?
No, never. I cycle I cycle in thongs. Yeah.
Dude,
Lycra's not me.
People would appreciate you more if you started wearing the Lycras and the sunnies.
No, I'm not wearing them. No.
I wear them sometimes.
I refuse, mate.
I wear the sunnies as well.
The sunnies, yeah.
The sunnies are alright.
I can see the sunnies if you're playing cricket or
that's what I use.
I'm more into the the ones with like they got the little leather flaps on the side. They stop the sun from like getting in. They're like explorer glasses.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But they're more like spectacles. But they're also a bit
How you going?
Yeah, a bit hanging on. Yeah. You can't be caught wearing them if you're not doing an activity that justifies you to wear them. If you're just out at the local, getting a coffee or a beer, and you got those on, it can't be you. No.
What are you thinking about someone like that? Like, what are you doing, mate? Kind of thing.
Yeah. Don't buy me a beer.
Yeah. All right, and then in school, I remember we went to the same school, and you did pretty well.
Yeah.
How does a student that does as well as you did? You got one of the highest scores in the school. You enrolled in a medicine degree at university. Is that right?
Engineering. I enrolled everywhere in Australia because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Okay. So I had some different courses across Aussie land, but I can't remember what they were now. But I ended up doing engineering at UQ.
Yeah, and then you came back after I don't know how long in that uni, and you told me that you worked on some Paspaley boats.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? And explain what the job is.
Yeah, so I made a couple of mistakes just with uni in terms of I suppose, my mental health, I guess, some choices that weren't smart for me. We spoke about it the other day when I bumped into you. When I first came down to uni, I moved into a share house with some international lads. Whilst they're lovely blokes, not social. So first year, I kind of struggled to make some friends and have good habits in terms of studying and sleeping and all the little things that kind of contribute to someone doing well. I suffered a little bit because of that, being lonely and alike. And so all of these things kind of led into my decision to take a break from uni after my third year. I'd had enough after my third year. I knew I wanted to finish my degree, but now was not the time. I couldn't see the end in the degree, and I wasn't in a good headspace, and I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying rocking up to uni. I wasn't enjoying being in Brisbane anymore. It was time for a break. I knew I wanted to have an adventure and just do something and do something that I love, which was, all these trips that I'd kind of gone on when I was young. But I don't have a sugar mummy, so I needed to finance it. So I came back to Darwin and worked on the Paspaley boats. I worked on the Christine. I spent 5 months in the Kimberley doing that, and really loved it actually. It's like an adventure in yourself. You're out on the boat in the middle of nowhere for sometimes close to a month. So I was up in Broome Way. My job was. I had a lot of jobs. There's a lot of different things to do on a boat, especially a big boat. But I suppose the main job was we were out there doing what they call harvest at that time of year, which is where they basically pull the pearls from the oysters. The good ones get reseeded, so they put a small bead back into the kind of muscle. It's like dentistry, and the bad ones get killed, and the meat gets cleaned, and the shell gets cleaned. So yeah, I was a shell stacker. At the kind of end of the process, after they come through the machine, they need to get stacked in a special way because they get sent to China and other places, and they kind of crack and compress. Yeah. So that was my exciting life for 5 months. Obviously, I did so much more on the boat too. There's lots of jobs on the boat. One example is we tie alongside the other boat at the start of the day, so you got to pull the anchor and throw the ropes and get all kind of tied up to secure boats that are almost 50 meters long alongside each other. So that's just an example of some of the kind of small other jobs. But yeah, my main role was stacking shells, mate. So
why did you do it? Why did you apply for that job? Because you obviously could have just got a cruisy job at an aircon office with your engineering degree. Why did you decide to do something like that? First off, I wanted to get out of Brisbane, Yeah. I wanted to just leave the space that I was in completely. So I didn't want to do anything involved with my degree. I didn't want to be in Brisbane. I didn't want to be around the same mates. Not because any of these things were bad in a way. Do you know what I mean? Brisbane's a nice place. My degree's all right, and I have good friends. But I needed to totally be in a different environment to feel like I was getting a bit of a reset, Yeah.
So yeah, Darwin's my home, but I also was very aware that I didn't want to work in Darwin because Darwin's a small place. I grew up here. I could never live here again. As much as it's nice, but yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the idea of being out in a boat, being in the middle of nowhere, being in the Kimberley, which is gorgeous. I've never been there. Spent a lot of time in Broome. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's all right. But yeah, just something completely different, who like stacking shells on a boat out in the middle of the ocean is random and different, and something. Yeah.
Gives you a story.
Yeah, not that I'm looking for a story, just gives me just a new environment that I'm doing new things, meeting new people, and I'm having a real change and giving myself some room to breathe. So, yeah.
I reckon a lot of people experience what you experienced. Like, even I went through it a little bit. I had a corporate job last year, and I remember halfway through that job, like at the start, I absolutely loved it. And I cherished it the whole way through, but I remember halfway through, you hang around that environment, which is a very corporate, formal environment, and halfway through, like, I just couldn't picture anything. My ideal situation was just to get out of there and just work a normal tradie job, just with normal people,
Yeah.
And I listening back on that, because I had discussed that on one of my previous podcasts during when I was experiencing that, I needed to get out of this. I need to just take a break. This is not too full on, but it's a different world, bro. It's a completely different world. Like, you're studying in uni, and then you're around, really highly successful corporate people who have different lines of conversation, different areas of interest, different intellectual goals, all sorts. And I remember just literally wanting to work a trade. And then that's when I ran into you, and you told me that you'd worked on the pearling boats for a bit of hard work. And you were pursuing an engineering degree.
Yeah.
And it was similar to something that I was feeling. And now that I'm out of that situation, it's so funny. I couldn't imagine doing anything worse than working as a tradie in Darwin. It's just so fascinating where your situation at the time could lead your thoughts. That was something I experienced.
It's interesting, man. I think a lot of young people and a lot of young fellas go through it, moving away from home and going to university, and it's you got a lot to figure out as a young person. So you make some mistakes and you get some things right, and ultimately. I remember calling up my mum a lot of times saying, I don't know what I want to do with myself. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't know anything. and her advice to me was, do something, and when you don't like it, at least, you figure out what you don't like, and then you're not stagnant. You're not just moving in circles,
Yeah.
A kind of circle place of, I don't know what to do, so you don't do anything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree with you, man. The kind of corporate world is not for me either. I think it's a Darwin thing, honestly. Like, the fellas from the city, when I moved down to Bris Vegas, they love it. They like getting dressed up in their RMs and their pants and rocking up to the office every day with their almond latte with vanilla.
Yeah.
Gonna wink at the desk lady, man. They're for that, Friday work drinks. So it's different people,
Yeah.
But yeah, I relate to you that there's a balance, and it's tricky to know what's right. I feel like it's difficult to exist outside of that corporate box in a job that's successful and you're able to kind of support yourself. I think with maybe COVID, it's getting easier now, having to be able to work from home, and there's more options other than a kind of 9-to-5 office job. But yeah, it is tricky. So,
how much of growing up in Alice Springs and then living in Darwin impacted that for you?
Well, I would say that I grew up in lots of different places across the top end. I lived in the Tiwi Islands, out a place called Minyeri. It's out near, I forgot, it's out past Mataranka, Larger Manu. So lots of kind of smaller Indigenous communities. And honestly, I loved it, man. It was so I was out there till I was 8, and then we moved back into Darwin for me, actually, for my schooling. Loved it. I went to school with no shoes, and
in the community.
Yeah, no shoes, and playing footy after school and running around, and really, a really just fun kind of childhood. And some things that I'm aware of now that I wasn't then was kind of my exposure to different cultures and different peoples, and something that I can appreciate now. And growing up, I spoke to I don't remember them now, but I spoke the local languages, and I had a dreaming, and when I went to school we did the dance, and so very, very different, but I also really loved it. So I'm grateful for, my parents weren't doing it for me, it was their job, but I'm grateful to have something kind of different like that, and have some connections and some good mates out there who I can maybe go back out and kick the footy with and catch up with a coffee or whatever, So really enjoy that.
Because to this day, I've never met anyone like you. Like, your ability to just not give a single fuck is incredible. I remember playing cricket with you, and you were the same. Even, we hadn't seen each other for a year or two, and you were the same person, even after university, even after, spending years apart. So, I think, I didn't know that you had grown up in the community like that.
Yeah.
I think that experience would be unbelievable. And, like, a lot of people don't have it, bro.
Yeah.
I would almost, I want my, kid eventually one day to grow up just in a normal environment. And, I've been doing some thinking about where I would raise him. I just have these existential thoughts sometimes, And, if I were, even just, we think we're regular people, but we're in extremely wealthy circumstances compared to the rest of the world. And so, I've been thinking whether, if I wanted to raise my kid as someone just chilled out, normal, laid back, who, understands how lucky he is and isn't a corporate prick like some of those guys in Bris Vegas or Melbourne, for example, where would I raise him? And, my mind instantly goes to somewhere in poverty or somewhere like an Indigenous community where, they don't have these thoughts about, I want the next nice pair of shoes, or I want this car, or Mum, can you get me an iPhone? It's just rock up to school, play a bit of footy, learn hard, and then look after your community. So, I think, do you cherish that now?
Yeah. I do really enjoy it, and not enjoy it. I do really appreciate that. But also, in terms of, I suppose a lot of things contribute to environment. Location is one of them, obviously a big one. And then also who you're with, I was, at the same time, really grateful to have two parents who, despite not being together, loved and cared for me, and I always had everything that I needed. So I think that's another important aspect, as is kind of location and exposure to different things and seeing what other people have and what other people don't, and yeah, just how the world works in not an echo chamber,
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then, all right, so moving on to Africa, why did you decide to take the leap of going there? And what was kind of the battle between having the idea in your mind and then taking action, booking the flight?
Africa just seems like a bit of an unknown, Like, I've never been there. You always hear, like, not always, but most of the time the news we get is negative regarding Africa, civil wars, famines, dictatorships. It's rarely a good story running in regards to Africa. And I just felt like, I really want to get over there and experience their culture and some perspectives. And I know it's not the case from traveling in other places that, things are not what they hear, not what you hear. So yeah, I really wanted to just experience something completely different. I felt like I could turn up to Europe anytime with my backpack and do whatever I wanted there. It's so easily accessible and set up for Western travelers. It's not. I don't know. It didn't feel exciting for me. So it was either that or South Africa. It's not South Africa. South America. Wasn't feeling South America, so I just decided Africa, man. I was just like, I'm just going to go to Africa. Yeah, honestly, I just turned up. You asked about my decision between thinking about it and doing it. I've always been the person who doesn't really plan. Do you know what I mean? I rocked up in Africa intending to cycle without a bike or any gear. I just booked a flight and I turned up and I was like, I'm gonna cycle. And I think that's sometimes just a good way to do it because, you can get your head in a mess thinking about, what type of bike I need. I need this gear to do that. I don't have any experience doing this. And then you don't do it, And you listen to what other people say, like, you can't travel there because this, that, or the other. And that, people have never been there. Like, how would they know? So, yeah, I've always been not a believer in, I suppose a believer in being spontaneous, just turning up. So I just booked a flight and turned up, man. I just turned up in Cairo, and then it's a bigger city in Africa. It was a mess. Didn't know where I was going to stay, what I was going to do, and yeah, I bought a bike within a week and some bags, man, and I was on the road. Didn't know which way I was going to go. So yeah, just made a decision and said, yeah, I'm going. And yeah, that was how that transition kind of came about.
So you just blocked out the noise about people saying, don't go, this is dangerous, Africa's like this, what if you this?
Yeah, honestly, man, I can be selfish like that. Not selfish, but like just, I don't know. I think when you take people's opinions, sometimes in regards to things that they don't really know about, or they, my mum's a good example of this. She has vested interest. My mum's like, doesn't want me to get in trouble over there, or, whatever can happen to me. But let's be real, she doesn't actually know anything about Africa. So, I mean, yeah, she's my mum and I love her, but, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
No, there's a saying that goes, don't take financial advice from someone that isn't financially successful. I think it's the same thing. Like, if people haven't experienced it. Did you go to someone who went there before you went? And
No. I just turned up. But I was also confident because, I'd done a lot of this kind of thing before, and I'd been to America and I'd walked for 5 months, and I'd been bikepacking around New Zealand, and I kind of knew the ropes. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I knew what was what. So it's not like I'd never ridden a bike before. I'd never been camping. Do you know? I knew how I liked to travel. I knew what I needed. So for me, it wasn't stressful to turn up and just say, yeah, I'm going south. And I don't have any gear, but I'll figure it out. And I came off a boat, man. I hadn't ridden a bike in 5-6 months, let alone across Africa. So yeah, it was a little bit daunting first setting out, man. I got arrested in Egypt, which I wasn't planning on, but yeah, but that's another story. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So Egypt obviously have a big tourism industry, and they want to protect that. Fair enough. After that's some attacks, I think in the early 2000s, and their tourism took a big hit after that, and it's a big industry there. So yeah, basically they don't like people like me traveling in kind of random ways, like across their country. They like everything to be structured. You to be part of a tour group, or you're going diving, or you have a guide, and I just had my bike, and I was riding through the capital and on back roads and through farmlands, and so yeah, I wanted to ride down the Red Sea because I knew it was going to be a long time before I saw the ocean again. So yeah, I was on my way down to the Red Sea, and I pulled into a servo, and yeah, this guy snitched on me. He called the cops, and he just called the cops, and I mean he was scared, because I guess maybe in Egypt, if he didn't report me, he'd be in a bit of trouble. But yeah, he called the cops, and next thing I had 5-6 cop cars there, and we argued for ages. And yeah, they basically said to me, yeah, you can't travel like this. You need to go back to Cairo. I was only about 100 k's out of Cairo. You need to go back to Cairo. Nope, like you can't be putting your tent in the desert and just sleeping, and like it's not how we do things here, which I can respect. You're in another country, but at the same time, I was like, nah, I'm going to keep riding. Like I'm a traveler. It's my right to travel in the way that I want. Anyway, after a couple of hours, it got down to get in the car with your bike, or we're going to put you in the car. I don't need to be put in the car, so I got in the back of the car with my bike. And yeah, they took me back to Cairo, and they gave me like a little notice, and they said, yeah, if you leave Cairo again with your bike and try and cycle, we're gonna first stop you, and yeah, we're gonna report it to your embassy, and you're gonna be asked to leave our country. So yeah, I left in the night and cycled out of Cairo that night, another way down along the river, which was crazy, man, because it's crazy and stupid, because Cairo is the biggest city in Africa. I think it's like 25 million people. Yeah. So riding through there at night, through the back suburbs, the main problem was the dogs, man. No one, they don't have any kind of system to stop the breeding of dogs, and just in the dark, they just kind of come for you, They just all try and bite at your feet. And yeah, I think I rode from like 6 o'clock to like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was just set to get out of the city and start my trip. And yeah, I slept in like a farmer's little hut, and yeah, that was a crazy night. And I kind of said to myself after that, I'm not cycling at night again in Africa. So yeah, that was right at the start of my trip, after I'd been stuck in Cairo for 10 days trying to get my visa for Sudan, and I was just set to leave. And yeah, after that setback, I was like, arrest me and deport me then, because yeah, I want to cycle. So if I can't cycle here, I didn't care at that point. So, but yeah, I think it was an empty threat anyway. So.
How did you navigate your way? Like, were you using a compass? Did you have
a map? I just had Google Maps.
Google Maps. Yeah, that works over there, does it?
Yeah, you got signal in Africa. Yeah. I was just on the old Google Maps. Take this road, take that road, and I was just kind of taking all the back roads down the Nile. Yeah. All the main roads have like checkpoints. You got to say who you are, where you're going, who you're with, and so yeah, I was kind of taking all the dodgy back roads, trying to avoid all of these. And yeah, I didn't make it far in Egypt. I only got about 400 k's. Yeah. And
only 400 k's.
Yeah. I got about 400 k's, and then I got stopped again. I mistakenly took a main road and went through a checkpoint, and I got like locked in a hotel, and yeah, there was guys there, and they put me on the train. So they said, no, you got to leave. So they put me on the train to go out of the country, but they didn't put me with anyone. Like, there was no police escort or anything. So I got off like 300 k's down the track and kept riding, and managed to kind of get out of Egypt another I think 500-600 k's later. But a lot of the time I had a police escort. the whole way.
Wow.
Just a guy who would just sit on the back of the bike and just honk whenever I stopped. And I kind of learnt in Egypt that things are flexible. It's not like Australia where, you know, I don't know, you get pulled over and a copper says, do this. Yeah. You have to do it, you know. You don't really have a choice. In Africa, you can kind of be like, oh, nah. Like, you know, you can be like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. Like, I want to keep cycling. And, you know, you can kind of just, like, force your way into... I mean, that's a tourist privilege, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a tourist, they want me to have a good time, and if they throw me in jail, you know, I'm going to have some things to say about that, and you know, which is maybe a bit arrogant and not respecting of their of their country. But yeah, if they throw me in jail, it's not going to look good for Egyptian tourism. So yeah, I had a few problems there, but also looking back at it now, I had a great time, you know, running from the cops in Egypt. But no, Egypt was nice as well. So.
A lot of people think that if you go to a country, you have to always respect their culture and respect the locals. But I think, you know, traveling around, that's not always the case because, you know, in some of those countries, the locals try and rip you off. And say, for example, if you're going to Bali or Indonesia or Thailand and you try and respect the locals at all costs, you're going to be spending times 4 the money you should be spending. Yeah. So, yeah, that's interesting. Did you hold your own? Did you?
Yeah. I mean, you can have respect for the country, you just and not get ripped off or not be this or not be that. Do you know what I mean? It's not that I don't have any. It's not that I don't respect kind of Egypt. It's more that I'm traveling the way that I want, and you know, of course, like you know, obviously, I was interacting with locals and you know, eating with locals, and I have great respect for kind of Egypt and their culture and their customs and seeing all they have to offer from a tourism aspect. But at the same time, like, yeah, you got to kind of draw the line somewhere. Yeah. And yeah, that was, I want to see a country by cycling. Yeah. It's just, you know, different countries, different cultures, different beliefs, and different ways of thinking, you know. In their mind, it's ridiculous to cycle their country, do you know? But it's more popular than you think. So, yeah, that I just kind of kept pushing and said, no, I'm cycling. So they're like, what are you doing? You want to get in the car? No, I'm cycling. Come on, we'll put you back in the car. No, cycling.
So, when you said you had a police escort, is that did you want that escort, or is he just following you to try and get you out?
He's just following you.
Yeah. To keep you safe or get you out?
Both.
Okay.
So eventually, you know, I kept getting stopped, and yeah, at this point I became kind of more rigid. I was like, no, I'm cycling. No, you know, I'd heard it all before. When I first got kind of taken into the back of the car, they were like, oh, we'll take you back to Cairo and get you this permit and get you this and get you on your way. And they just say that to get you in the car. The permit doesn't exist. None of this exists. They just want you gone, you know?
Yeah.
So eventually, like, after experiencing this a lot, you just kind of go, no, I'm not coming with you. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm just cycling. Obviously, if they're like, I'm going to put you in jail, then, okay, I'm going. Yeah. But so eventually they come to the conclusion that you're just going to keep cycling. And from town to town, they give you a police escort. And he makes sure that you don't camp in places and that you go to a hotel. And he follows you every day. From when you wake up at the hotel, he's there with his boys. They get in the car and they just follow you to the next place. And then they radio the copper from the next district and they say, yep, we got old mate making our life bloody pain in the ass here. Can you give him a follow to here? And yeah, they follow you along.
And
so,
this is while you're on your bike, so they're probably riding, you know, 20 driving.
Yeah,
20
they're driving.
behind you.
They're driving. No, they're driving there, right next to you.
Yeah, but I'm saying like at that speed.
Yeah. They drive
as fast as you go.
Yeah, and they're obviously annoyed. You know, imagine sitting in a car for 5-6 hours a day, going 20 behind behind some white dude. You know.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is he doing? So you're like, you know, I didn't sign up to the police to do this. Like, so yeah. You can imagine they're annoyed whenever I stop for lunch. They're honking their horn or coming over, and it pissed me off too. Like, come on, man, I'm doesn't seem like it, but I'm actually on holiday. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
This is not some-
I came here to enjoy a country and to see things, not to have you, buddy, ring your sirens at me every 5 seconds and, you know, follow me while I go for a piss. So, yeah, it is what it is. And I did leave Egypt with a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Like, you know, fuck this country. Like, I'm sick of all of this. But looking back, it was actually really nice. And, yeah, I do want to go back, but I don't think something needs to change if you want to travel Egypt by kind of cycling, because it wasn't very enjoyable like that when you had a police escort. You know, you felt hurried and stressed, and I suppose that's reasonable.
And that's just in Egypt?
That was just
happened to you?
That was just in Egypt, man. When I got to Sudan, they didn't get any tourists. They were so happy that I was there that go, man, go into the desert, do whatever you want. So,
Really?
so yeah, it was just Egypt because they have a tourism industry to protect, that they were very pedantic about what tourists do in their country.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got to Sudan, go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then I remember seeing some photos on Instagram of you hanging out with the locals.
Yeah.
That first photo where it looked like you were in this little village, you know, desert sand,
Right.
with these locals.
Yeah.
Where was that?
That was in northern Sudan.
Northern Sudan.
I don't remember the name, but it was maybe only 100 k's over the border. And you have all these little villages kind of popping up in northern Sudan because they've actually found gold there. And this was a small kind of gold mining town operation, you know, dodgy as. But yeah, these dudes had come from the cities and bigger towns to northern Sudan, which has nothing. And in Sudan, nothing is really nothing. And they were just eating watermelons and living their life. So yeah. It was cool, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you go to South Sudan at all?
No. So yeah, at the time, the kind of advice that I had, and when I was in Sudan, was don't go to the southern parts of Sudan, and then also the south of Sudan. That was where kind of the rebel groups, and they had militias, and they had some problems. So yeah, some conflicts. So I'm not real keen on riding through conflicts on my bike. So yeah, I gave that a miss, and it was kind of out of the way anyway. I wanted to go to Ethiopia, so it would have been a big detour.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because South Sudan's where the tallest people in the world are. Have you seen that? There's some big 6'7" over there.
Yeah. So I spoke to you about this. The guy that I met at Toro in Sudan, well, we met in Egypt, but we rode together in Sudan. He actually rode through the Omo Valley, and crossed the border into Kenya, where South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Kenya, their borders all meet. And yeah, the tribesmen there are what you said, the tallest people in the world. He has some footage on his GoPro. You know, he's not a short fellow. He's like 6 foot, and you know, he's looking up at these massive dudes. And yeah, crazy.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Is that the same in the north as well? Or not really?
In Sudan?
Yeah.
No.
Why is that?
I have no idea, honestly.
You're just eating something different over
Yeah. Well, mate, there's nothing to eat there. It's a desert. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. I don't know what's going on, but they're huge, mate. They're huge. So yeah, he has a photo of like him next to this dude with a big fish, and this guy is like a giant, like 6'8", 6'9", skinny, but you know, just a massive human. So I don't know what's going on there, but all these people in that area are huge. So yeah, even the women, they're massive.
Really?
Yeah. So
you're struggling if you're a 5 foot.
Yeah.
You kind of.
No, you can't live there.
No, you got to move.
Yeah.
You got to move to an Asian country.
Yeah. Go to Thailand.
Another thing I've admired about you, Binks, is your ability to make friends and interact with people and like get people to trust you. I think it's one of your superpowers. How much do you think that played a role in you making friends with the locals?
Geez, it's a tough question. Everyone is kind of open and honest with you if they can kind of see you're the same. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I found in most places, regardless of my own kind of behavior, people were just excited to show you their country and to help you out if you needed it. So I mean, being open and honest kind of always helps, I guess. And people were, most of the time, if you needed this or needed that, they could see what they could do for you. So and not something I've thought about, but yeah, definitely. I mean, what can I say? Definitely it helps to be open and honest. Yeah. So.
Did you make any friends there?
Yeah, I have a couple of mates. One guy in Egypt who kind of helped me through the struggle with the police. We stayed in contact because there's not much English spoken in Egypt, and he was, doing a lot of the talking with the police, explaining what I was, like who I am, what I was doing, other things, and because there was a communication barrier there, and I stayed at his hostel and for an extended period of time, and we became mates. And then another fella in Kenya, cool story. He's just from a small village in the Masai Mara region, which is where they have you might have heard of the annual kind of wildebeest migration. They have lots of big game animals there, so quite a famous kind of tourist area. And he was a cattle herder, and in Kenya and other places in East Africa, they walk their cattle for hundreds of kilometers to different areas to trade them and sell them and keep them fed. And he discovered that he kind of loved walking. Ben is his name. And that he loved to travel by walking, and he wanted to do more of it. And in his village, in his region, the kids were walking 10, 15 Ks to kind of go to school every morning. So he decided that he was going to walk and try and make a YouTube channel and get some funds to build a school in his region. And he's actually walking around Lake Victoria at the moment, from Kenya to Uganda to Rwanda to Tanzania back into Kenya. And we became good mates. I slept on the floor in his house, and we had a coffee and just chatted about his kind of story with being a kind of cattle farmer, and then trying to get this YouTube channel up and going to support his community. And obviously I said, man, at some point I'll be back in Africa and I'll help you out and make some mud bricks or whatever's going on. And so we're in contact. I need to give him a call actually, see how he's going with his trip. But a good mate there. But one thing I'll add is it's difficult to have good interactions in Africa sometimes, just because of the language barrier. A lot of people don't speak English. They only kind of know what's your name, where you're from, and that's about it. Do you know what I mean? It can be difficult to kind of have those good interactions with people and meet people and make friends.
Was that guy travelling there as well, or was he a local?
No, he was a local.
Ben, yeah.
Ben, he lived in the Masai Mara region of Kenya, which is south, kind of west, bordering Lake Victoria and Tanzania.
Yeah. So
he grew up there.
And what about that video that you posted on your Instagram where you were cooking eggs on a little fire?
Yeah,
next to a waterfall.
At Blue Nile Falls in Ethiopia. Yeah, so that's that's close to the source of the Blue Nile. So you obviously have heard about the Nile River.
Yeah.
The White Nile leaves Lake Victoria in Uganda, and the Blue Nile leaves Lake Tana in Ethiopia, and they meet in Khartoum in Sudan and become the official Nile. So I was just down from there at Blue Nile Falls, and there was just a local dude whose family who'd owned that land for some generations, and he was trying to set up like a camping hostel type thing for people, because it was beautiful there. And we chilled out there for a couple of days, and was using his pan to cook some eggs, and we just stayed right on top of the waterfall and swam in the rapids at the top and just relaxed, man. That was probably one of the nicer places that I was, and it was the first time in Ethiopia that I could really sit back and relax, because Ethiopia was a little bit challenging cycling for cultural reasons and geographical ones. So
why cultural?
Well, Ethiopia was the only country in Africa to not be colonized, and it's really evident when you go there. It's really different from other places in Africa and in East Africa in general. And it was quite hostile, honestly. Like, so on the bike cycling, people throwing rocks at you, people like trying to put sticks in your wheels, and not just to me. Like, it's been a problem with other cyclists as well. And I did know this coming into Ethiopia. And people being kind of hostile, like I said. And then they have I don't understand it, and I need to do some more reading and kind of get another perspective on it. But they have a real kind of taking culture from what I experienced. People seemed in Ethiopia to always want something for nothing. Do you know? As a white guy, I was always expected to give something. They wanted this money or this or what, and if they couldn't have money, whatever was on my bike, they wanted this, they wanted that. And we experienced a couple of instances of people trying to steal and take things from your bike, and just, it was relentless, honestly. You stopped and you'd have 5-6 people approach you asking for this, wanting this, and I don't know where that culture came from. Maybe it's from, I know in the highlands, lots of non-government organizations operate up there, and I know they go out there and just chuck shit out. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if,
What do you mean by chuck shit out?
Oh, give out lots of chocolates or pens and just give, and give, and I don't know if that has created a kind of culture of we expect something for nothing, because I rode through places that were as poor or poorer in Sudan, for example, and you would never get asked for anything. Do you know? It was the complete opposite. Come into my home. Do you need some water? Do you need this? So, I had little kids on the side of I had one kid on the side of the road eating banana, and he was like kind of fat and rubbing his tummy, and he saw me coming, and he runs up to the road and he's like, "Oh, I'm so hungry. Like, give me some food." Like, just that kind of.
You've had enough food.
Yeah. It's just that kind of thing, and I think it was also they enjoyed like kind of riling up foreigners too. They get a real laugh out of it, which is a bit infuriating. But so it was tricky to navigate and to understand and to really wrap your head around, around their country and their culture. And it felt really hostile, like trying to camp or trying to get some food or get some water or get anything. People were in your face all the time. So that was tricky. So
was that scary when people were throwing rocks at you and were hostile? Did you ever think for a moment that you were going to get, seriously injured or in a bit of trouble?
I mean, I was angry at the time. I remember one instance, I copped a big shepherd stick in the back of the head. Some little kid just ran up and baseball batted me, and I was annoyed. He was a farming kid, so I remember chasing his sheep around the paddock for. Obviously, when they hit you, they run. Yeah. I think it's a bit of a game. Yeah. I remember I was so mad. I was chasing his sheep around the paddock, like trying to disperse them. So it would take. So it would take him hours to find his sheep. Imagine me, man, in the middle of Ethiopia, like in the farmlands. No one travels there, and you're driving past and you see some white dude with a shepherd stick just kind of running around trying to scare sheep everywhere. So I was angry and frustrated and more just not understanding. Do you know? Yeah. Like, man, why did you just baseball bat me in the back of the head with that? Like, it makes zero sense. But they got a good laugh out of that.
Did you hit the little striker back?
No. They as soon as they do it, they run, man, and they're fast too. Yeah. And all my efforts were in vain because the sheep just all came back together anyway. But and I don't know. I don't blame them. Do you know what I mean? They live out in the farmlands. Not many white people come past. They don't go to school. They're not educated. They don't have much. What are you going to do if you walk goats around all day? Do you know?
Yeah, hit a white guy.
Yeah,
it's the only thing you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, at one point it was really frustrating, but another part is like, you can't hold it against people, because I ended up really tight and kind of aggressive in every interaction, and that led into other ones which might have not been negative. Do you know what I mean? I was so pent up in Ethiopia, like expecting to have to fight for everything because had rocks thrown at me. I had been hit with a stick. I had people, trying to take things and just harass me generally. So, this kind of makes you shell up a bit and ruin some interactions kind of down the track. So yeah, it did make me not enjoy Ethiopia as much.
Wow. Were you were genuinely ready to fight?
Sometimes, man. Yeah. Like, if you, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I think so, but maybe I wouldn't have, because it's not a good idea to fight in a anywhere, let alone a foreign country. It's not your country. You don't know how things work. Fighting's not the solution, regardless of whether you get a rock in the back of the head or not. Yeah. But in that moment when you're seeing red, you're like,
fuck these guys.
I'm gonna chase a sheep.
yeah.
So yeah, it's tricky to know what to do. Yeah. Like, first the kids come and ask for money. If you don't give money, you get a rock in the back of the head. So, at one time you don't want to continue this kind of culture of getting something for nothing. So I tried. I knew about the situation in Ethiopia, and I tried at first to stop and talk to the kids and say, yeah, my name's this, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. But they don't really care about that. They want something. And after I didn't give something, it usually ended up in some kind of negative interaction. Yeah. And yeah, I honestly didn't know what to do about that situation. Like, and a lot of the time they were kids, you know what I mean? I'm not going to throw a rock back at a kid, although I did. I'm not going to throw a rock back at a kid, or there's nothing you can do. Like, what are you going to do? March them to their parents? Yeah. If you catch them, and then their parents are going to beat the shit out of them, do you really want to watch them get flogged? Like, is that the solution? Or, I mean, what's the solution? So in the end, I came to a kind of intermediate solution, which I don't think is really a solution. I had a rock strapped on the front of my bike, and after some time, you can kind of tell the types of people that are going to throw a rock at you. When they come close, like to the road, and say, hey, money, 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 or, they're looking a bit sus, I'll just unstrap it carefully and just show it to them, I'll just ride past like...
I've got something too, but...
Yeah, it's like they know that I know what's up,
Yeah.
I've been in your country long enough, like I know what's up when I cycle past, like I'm going to get a rock. Just know that I have this big rock and it's coming your way. So yeah, that was my solution, and a lot of the time they just laughed and waved or kind of backed off the road a bit. But that's such a negative kind of, what can you do? So I don't know what I would do if I was to cycle in Ethiopia again. Maybe wear a helmet. No. I wouldn't wear a helmet and just cop rocks all day. Like, some people hand out sweets, but I mean, it's the wrong attitude. So,
no. I mean, you're a one-man army, bro. So what can you do to kind of fix that culture? But
yeah.
The worst thing I imagine you can do is give them shit, and then they expect more stuff, and it's a never-ending cycle.
So I think that's what's happened up in those areas that I was in. Obviously, there was a lot of non-government organisations up there when I had that famine, and I heard a rumour that they like to operate up there because it's the highlands and there's no malaria, and it's quite nice up there. It's a bit of a non-government organisation haven. It's quite pretty. There's no malaria. It's quite good for Africa. So whether that's true or not is another thing. But yeah.
And then, so did you see any runners, by the way, in Ethiopia? Like people just running?
In Kenya, I did.
In Kenya,
I did. So they have some really good runners in the west of Kenya, close to the border with Uganda, and some really good Ugandan runners, actually. Yeah, just crazy. Yeah. Crazy, I remember seeing some dudes, just two of them running, like, in the full kit. Stopped for lunch, maybe an hour, kept cycling. And then saw them again, passed them again. They were just running at the same pace, not sweating, just running through the tea plantations at 10 k's an hour, 12, whatever they were running at, like it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And they're building a new training facility up there. I think before they haven't had like a gym and a space where you go and work out and become a runner. They're just such good runners. I mean, obviously they have training, but they've never had a facility before. I don't think so. Yeah. don't quote me on that, but in the western kind of Kenya on the border there, they have a big facility that's kind of underway. So yeah, saw some really good runners there.
Where did you, throughout this journey, where did you eat, sleep, shit?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and it's country dependent. Obviously, we just spoke about Ethiopia and how it was tough, and you can imagine that you can't camp really much in Ethiopia because there's people everywhere, and you're going to get hassled everywhere, and it's going to be a nightmare. So in Ethiopia, for example, behind little pubs and little bars, they have really cheap rooms, and I started off with a stove, but I ended up throwing it away. I never used it. Even when I was camping, I just bought little bits and pieces and ate. It's really cheap to eat local food. So yeah, I bought food most of the time. And some countries I camped, like Egypt, I was camping a bit before the police. Sudan, I was camping pretty much all the time. And Kenya, I was camping. Uganda, I was camping. So yeah, it's country dependent. And I just shat in the bush, mate.
Yeah.
So yeah. Different countries had different things. For example, in Sudan, they had scorpion beds, they call them. So basically, they have these little cafes. Cafe is a nice term for it, but huts in the desert where you can get a feed, a goat, and a cup of tea. And if you buy some goat and a cup of tea, you can sleep in their scorpion beds, where basically these 4-posted movable metal bed. That you just kind of lie on. It's just like a flat kind of thing with some string across it, and they call them scorpion beds because they have a lot of scorpions there, and they can't crawl up the metal on the legs. So you're meant to sleep up on there, not on the floor, because scorpions are quite territorial and they bite. Although I never had a problem with it, but yeah, that's the reason they're like that apparently. So
wow,
yeah,
you're actually dangers of being bitten by a scorpion there.
Yeah, they're quite territorial. If you're like in their area, they'll come and bite you.
Yeah.
So they'll find you and bite
like
you.
Fucking the Darwin plovers.
Yeah, they will come for you. If you're in their area, they'll come and bite you. And apparently, I heard it's not pleasant. So,
wow.
So yeah, they sleep up on these scorpion beds. And yeah, that is a really good system because at the end of the day, I just pull up at one of these places, have some goat, cup of tea. And they say, yeah, can I sleep there? And they're like, yeah, no problem. I'll just pass out, wake up and go again, Don't need to set my tent. Don't need to cook dinner. So, yeah, I really like that in Sudan.
Were you getting worried about being sick from the local food at all?
I was sick all the time.
All the time?
Yep. Whenever I crossed into another country, I was usually sick.
Wow.
For whatever reason, different foods, different ways of cooking it. I kind of stopped eating meat in Africa just because of the way they looked after it, which was they didn't. Meat left out for days, chicken just 3 days old hanging up. Oh, you want that chicken? I'll just cut it down for you. That type of thing, kind of hygiene and yeah. So I thought anyway. A lot of the times I ate meat, I got sick, and they had lots of good some vegetarian options. So I just kind of stuck to that, and I was safe most of the time. But yeah, I did get sick a lot. Had the runs all the time, mate. I actually shat myself a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you expect, isn't it, bro?
Yeah. I was in Egypt cycling to a place called Abu Simbel. You may have heard of it. It's where they built a dam in Egypt, and basically they had to move these massive statues up to some mountain, and they're really famous. Anyway, that's all I know about it. And I was riding out there, mate, and I was crook-a. I shat myself at a police station. And there's nothing you can do, man. I didn't have much water. I was sleeping in my tent. I just had to wipe it up with my shorts, and
that's all you got. You just got to move on.
Yeah. And I was in the middle of nowhere. I just had to keep cycling. I felt awful.
Wow.
But yeah, so yeah, I got sick a lot. I think I said to you, just recently in Tanzania, I had malaria, so I was proper crook. So yes, sick a bit, but nothing too serious. Nothing that was. Well, malaria was a bit of a time, but yeah, the shits was. I think at most 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
So yeah.
Did you go there like packing, multiple pairs of jogs and shorts and shit, or did you kind of just make it up as you went?
So I started with 2 pairs of shorts, and one pair of undies, pair of jocks. I lost those pretty quick, and a pair of shorts. And
Why so little though? You just had to be scarce.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess you just don't want to carry too much shit. And do you know what I mean? If you're going to be filthy, like, what's the point in carrying 4 pairs of filthy clothes when you can just have 1 pair of filthy clothes? Do you know what I mean? You're going to be filthy and you're going to get into the same clothes each day anyway. Yep. You might as well just have 1 pair of filthy clothes and then 5 disgusting sets of clothes. Yep. So I just had 1 and then something that I would wear in town when I could have a shower or get clean at least, Yep. So, and that I just had, those were my cycling clothes. They have rank. That's what I cycled in. You can't wash the smell out of them. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just embraced it.
Yeah. Man, you're cycling. Like, it is what it is, Like, I stink. Yep. I'm filthy. Yep. Like, haven't showered. Yep. So, yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah. It is, What do you expect, man? I'm cycling across your country. Of course I stink. Like, so I just had the 1 set for cycling. So.
There's honestly something so fucking cool about that, though, bro.
Yeah.
Just embracing the filth.
Yeah. And if you're a hygienic person or pedantic about that kind of thing, I honestly don't think you could do it because
you're just gonna freak out.
Yeah, you're gonna spend half your time like, I don't know, trying to get clean or whatever. Honestly, man, there was one time in Sudan I was so dirty, my dick got infected, and I was like, man, I need to go and get circumcised. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Did you?
No, not in Sudan, man.
You don't know what the fuck
they're doing. Yeah. I got all kinds of, it was gross, man. I got some infections and other things, but yeah.
How'd you get it out?
What?
The infection, the dick infection.
I cleaned it in the end. It was a cheese factory, mate. Yeah.
Because I imagine, like, what's a doctor situation down there if you get really bad,
You need to get to a hub, to a city, to a big city. Otherwise, you're getting some witchcraft magic.
Local ingredients.
Yeah. So you need to get to a hospital. So
and you didn't, I imagine.
No. Just
fucking went with it.
Got me spoon out and gave it a scrape, and it's good to go. So yeah. But just being clean, But it's difficult sometimes. Yeah. Sudan was the only place where I didn't shower for 3 weeks, I say.
Really?
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Two and a half weeks.
What about brushing your teeth?
I always had the toothbrush.
Sure. So frequently,
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, it depends on your kind of threshold for being a grub. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a grub. I can deal with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the guy I was cycling with, the Toro, he likes to be a little bit cleaner at night, So he would always get his water bottle and wash his gooch and wash under his arms and,
Gotcha. But you just wanted to save the water, or?
I just didn't care.
Yeah, you just wanted to go to sleep.
I was like, I'm going to sleep, man. I'm not getting my water and washing my gooch. Like, I'm going to bed. So, it's different people, different things, My hygiene products were my toothbrush. That was all I took, So, when I was in town, you can get soap. I'm not carrying soap. But,
What about bathing in the water there?
You wouldn't swim in the Nile.
Yeah.
I mean, people do. The locals do.
Is the crocs?
They have big fucking crocodiles.
Yeah.
And, obviously, I think it's one of the most polluted rivers in the world.
Yeah.
Also, but in Sudan, it wasn't polluted, but in Egypt, it kind of was. But, no. You just get a bucket, get a cup and, pour it over yourself, soap up, go again. So, I mean, you can use the water from the river if you want, as long as you're not drinking it and it's not getting in your eyes or whatever. But
why your eyes?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it gets in there and you get
shit.
No, you maybe get an eye infection or something.
Really?
I don't know. I didn't have it, but yeah.
I remember there was this story that I'd heard of these 3 thrill seekers going to Africa.
Yeah.
I don't know which town they went in, but they were kayaking in the water there, like 3 white guys.
In the Congo. I'm pretty sure. I think I've heard this. Go
Have
on.
you heard
Yeah,
this?
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and so one of them was like a massive thrill seeker,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to be his last trip there.
Yeah.
And he promised his girlfriend that this is his last trip. He wasn't even supposed to go. He was just training these guys to kayak in this place, and then at the very last minute, he said, "Fuck it, I'm going to go." He just couldn't contain his excitement for doing this. Anyways, he went, and it was absolutely frightening, man, because they started, and then I don't know, within not long, they had this bump in their canoe or whatever you call it, kayak, and these two blokes turn around, and their guide, their leader, had been taken off the boat.
Yeah.
By
I think
a fucking crocodile.
I think this is the same one. This was in the Congo. They were trying to kayak the length of the Congo River out to the sea, and the main dude who you're talking about led another group who kayaked the whole Nile from the start of the Nile to the end. So yeah, and no problems. But yeah, he got grabbed in the Congo. Man, the Congo is a wild place. Like, Africa is wild, but all the countries around Africa, around the Congo, you talk to the people and they're like, man, the Congo is insane. Like,
Really?
and it makes me want to go there. Like, they're like, oh, they eat everything there, like everything, like monkeys, snakes, like it's just a wild place. Like, Central Africa, just the equator passes through. That's just lush mountains and forest. And I remember being in Uganda and Rwanda at some points, looking across lakes and looking over into the Congo, and because they're close, they just share a lake, and that's the border, and you just see mountains and forest, and it just looks insane over there. So yeah, the Congo is there's Africa, I feel like, and there's the Congo. It's just a wild place. But yeah, that guy got grabbed. So yeah, crazy.
Because you wouldn't want to be doing anything that the locals don't do in foreign countries.
Yeah,
and in that place, they specifically said the two dudes went to the village. They just quickly kayaked away.
Yeah.
Went to the village and said, "Come help us. This guy's just been grabbed. We've got to save him." They're like, "No,
he's done. He's done.
We're not going in the fucking water."
Yeah, he's done. Yeah. And also the Congo River is wild too. I'm pretty sure in their rainy season it becomes like 20 rivers. Do you know what I mean? You don't even know where it goes, and it's got rapids and waterfalls, and it's just another world. So the Nile, I feel like, is reasonably established as a river and passes through some civilized place, but the Congo River is nuts. So yeah, intense. Yeah, I actually read an article about that guy who did that trip, and then they barely even heard. He just got snatched out of his kayak, and that was it. They didn't hear anything else. He was just gone all of a sudden. So. And
there's a few places as well where the locals do the same thing. They go canoeing, and there's heaps of accounts because they have to do it to get food to survive.
I was in a couple of places like this in Uganda, in Rwanda, and in Burundi. I forgot. I think there's Lake Edward, and there's another lake and another. It's a Great Lake region, but they have about 3 big lakes there, and I think it might be Lake Eygpt, maybe not, maybe it's the other one, but they have the biggest crocodiles in the world there, and hippos, all the works, they have everything.
Yeah.
And they're fishing villages, I stayed in one of these fishing villages, and the kids are in the water, and there's hippos, 300, 200 meters away, hippos just kind of chilling, and hippos kill the most people in Africa.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and they're just chilling, but they know they're not aggressive now. When it comes to night and they're feeding, they're aggressive or whatever. But yeah, they're just in the water, pulling their nets, and they don't really have any kind of regard for it. Sometimes they're kind of chest deep walking around with the nets, and man, there's huge crocodiles in there, but I don't know.
They got to do it.
I don't know if they got to do it or they just, but they're doing it. Yeah. Hippos, crocodiles. So yeah. Because the fellow that I was with, he likes kayaking as well. And, he was chatting to some of his kayaking buddies, and they were like, yeah, maybe don't go kayaking there. It's like got the biggest crocodiles in the world, and the most people taken. So yeah, they just.
Why are there so many man-eating crocodiles in that specific place though? Do you know why? Is it because they just had a glimpse at one human and then decided they liked them, and then it's just bred this culture among the crocs?
I have no idea, man. I'll talk to the crocodiles about
Bro.
it. It's
Because that's the one place where there's literally, like, there's crocodiles and then there's these man-eating crocodiles that just love it.
Man, these guys must be tasty, or they just... But there's so many fish in the lakes too. But yeah, it's impossible. Well, it's impossible to say. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, they're just eating people. I think everything is just eating people there. You know, like everything seems to be out to get you. And some of those like spots, you're like, oh man, that could have gone really bad. But yeah, so.
Wow, fuck, that is intense.
Man. Yeah. Sitting there, sitting on the bank and watching these dudes just like casually pulling their fishing nets along, not a care in the world, in a crocodile-infested lake with hippos is just... It's just another Tuesday for them.
Were you stressed for them at all?
Not really.
Really? Fuck you guys. You chose to go in
there. What can you do? Like, it's just another world. Like, they're just doing their thing, catching their fish, and maybe they know something that I don't, that the crocodiles only live in this area, and the hippos only are aggressive at this time, and yeah, maybe it's too loud for the crocodiles in their village, or who knows. So yeah, you would think, or you would hope they have some things that I don't know about, and they're not just chilling in water where they're going to get snatched up. But, yeah.
Dude, when I went to Milangimbi just recently, have you been to Milangimbi before?
Yeah, it's on the Tiwis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
It's its own little island. You have to fly there.
Yeah. Is it on... it's called like Garden Point, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I lived there for a bit, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just a town of like 800 to 1,000 people.
Yeah. I was there when they had a big cyclone there. Our house actually got blown down.
Really?
But yeah, go on.
Your house did?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
You're sick.
Yeah. Our house got blown down there, yeah. It was like 06 or 07 or something. Yeah, I don't remember.
What was that like? What cyclone was that, do you remember?
I don't know, but it crashed into the TVs in the north there.
Yeah.
And we were in like a nursing accommodation, which is kind of just a demountable house. And we all got put into the hospital, which was like a concrete kind of structure. It was a cyclone shelter. And our house is one of the ones that they got totaled. I think just being a demountable, it wasn't very strong.
Yeah.
The roof blew off, and then all the walls just kind of folded in like cards. But yeah, that was good. It was cool, man. I remember my old man took me out in the eye of the cyclone.
Yeah.
So everything's spinning that way, and then you walk out and it's like really calm, and then everything comes back the other way, like when the other half of the cyclone kind of comes. So yeah, I was only super young then, but I do remember that. But yeah,
dude.
Yeah. You were saying Milangimbi, you were there?
Yeah, so I was there, and the locals had told me a story about one day the water had risen to a higher level than usual, and the kids were playing about in the rain.
Yeah.
And one of the elders just heard a scream, and it's this little 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid. The kids are running around like they're screaming, and the parents are going, "What's happened?" Anyways, all these kids had witnessed this one little 10-year-old, this crocodile just lurk up. So it came onto the village, take this kid by the leg and swim away with it. And these locals looked for the kid for, a couple of days after. They went to the proper joints where the crocodiles hang out and looked for him. But this kid had been dragged and fucking death rolled down the bottom of the water, bro.
Yeah.
It was fucking frightening.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, man. There's so many crocs there in the Tiwis. And yeah,
bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a different world, man.
Yeah.
And I'm scared to go swimming in the fucking Nycliffe Beach.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even have a problem there, really, would we? Like, no.
I wouldn't think so.
No.
Probably more with jellyfish, I reckon.
Yeah.
But no, not with crocs. Maybe some small ones.
You just don't have regard for that sort of stuff, Like when a cyclone comes here, we're fine. We have no issues. But then you think 200 k's up north or south, these guys are having serious problems with this stuff.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Shit's getting blown down.
Animals are being folded over like cards.
Yeah. It's interesting perspectives like that, like in Africa, it's one of the things that I kind of notice, like, if you're not doing real well for yourself kind of here and you're having a bit of a hard time, you kind of you can kind of lean back for some assistance with maybe the government, and they can find you a job and some accommodation and support you while you get back on your feet. And in Africa, if you're out in your ass, you're living on the street, and I'm sure in many countries too. You're on the street, and you're really fighting for yourself. You're fighting for everything, and being poor in one of these countries is another story to you really have to sell coconuts to or whatever to make ends meet, to do whatever. So yeah, it's it gives you, I suppose it gives you an idea of your problems and what actual problems are. Do you know what I mean? Here I am like, oh yeah, my life's hard. I'm a depressed uni student cycling around Africa, but my life's not really hard. And we spoke about it at the start. Yeah, there's levels to problems, and yeah.
Are you depressed?
No.
No.
I wouldn't even say I was at uni.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe. I don't know. It's difficult to say, but I wasn't feeling great. So, and I wasn't feeling myself. And like I said, I wasn't enjoying uni. I wasn't enjoying my mates. I wasn't enjoying Brisbane. So it's time for a change of scene, and to do something different. It's difficult in that instance. It's difficult to make small changes to improve your life. When you kind of don't really know where to start, and you don't see them kind of becoming big changes. So in that instance, I needed a big change, something kind of radical to jolt me back into some kind of direction, I suppose. So yeah.
And coming back here, do you feel like an imposter almost, that you don't deserve what you have?
Imposter? No. I feel... What I feel like is not a student. I can't imagine, in a couple of weeks I'm going to be sitting in the classroom again. And a month before that, I was on my bike watching elephants go past and having malaria, and just a totally different world. Like, what I feel like is definitely not a student, and just it's difficult to put into words because I haven't really reflected on it too much. Do you know what I mean? I've just had this big adventure, and I don't really kind of know what it means yet, other than I had a great time. Do you know? And I don't know if you necessarily need to give something meaning, or if later on it will emerge and it'll be like, oh, this was meaningful for me in this way because I learned this and I didn't realize it now, but now I do. Or I can just appreciate it for a good trip and a reset. But at the minute it's more. I've had a great time, and but it's time to get in and kind of finish my degree and come back to the real world, I suppose. And I suppose you appreciate, it's nice to just go down the shop and get a coffee and have a bowl of cornflakes, It's
sleep on a cushiony bed.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's not on the ground and not drinking whatever shit coffee they have and eating bananas. Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to be home and be in a place where things work after just kind of being away, Yeah. So I'm appreciating that, but I know that I'm going to miss being on the bike and just having an adventure in a couple of weeks, Yeah. I mean, I sat on Zanzibar for 1 week and drank cocktails, and even then I was a little bit itchy, To
come back.
To keep going,
Sure.
When you're doing something like that, change is your kind of drug, you live, you're experiencing everything new every day, and you get kind of addicted to changing and seeing new things and having new experiences. When you stop for a week, it's like, oh man, I need to go, I need to leave, I'm itchy, So that will be me in a couple of weeks. But that was me a little bit in kind of Zanzibar, but also not usually I'm not the type of guy that could sit on a beach for a week. I go nuts. But after a trip like that, I really had a great time sitting there. And actually, my girlfriend now, Sophia, came and joined me. And I made 10 babies. No, we just, it was nice to catch up and drink a few cocktails and go for a swim and a snorkel and that kind of thing, and just have some aspect of, I suppose, normal life, or what I was used to,
Yeah.
So yeah.
How special was it that she came and visited you?
Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah.
I really love that. Yeah, we had a blast. It was really great to see her. It was special, mate. So yeah, I mean, out of that trip, we were kind of a little bit up in the air, like she's from Sweden, so, and I'm obviously from Australia, and we're not together due to the distance, and it was kind of that trip that cemented, like, oh yeah, come to Australia and we'll work things out. Do you know what I mean? So she's going to come down to Brisbane, and we're gonna give that a real go, which I'm really excited about. So that without that trip, that maybe doesn't happen, or things are different. So yeah, it's funny how things work out. Do you know what I mean? When you're not expecting things, and do you know? I mean, Africa, I'm not expecting that, or or to have someone come live with me in a couple of months, but I'm really, really happy that it happened. So
yeah.
Why
did she do that? That's a big leap for her, bro, to go from Sweden to wherever you were. Where was it?
Zanzibar in Tanzania.
Zanzibar.
Yeah, it's a long flight.
How long is it?
Maybe without stopovers, just flying time, it's probably 10 or 12 hours. No. Maybe closer to 15. So yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, she did it because I bought the flight.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, no, I wanted to see her, and she wanted to see me, obviously, I hope. And we'd spent some time in Bali together, and how we met was she rented my apartment in Brisbane when I when I left to South Africa. So that's how we met. And we hadn't seen each other for a while, and we were in contact, calling all the time, and it was the right time to catch up, and yeah. So that's how that kind of happened. It was kind of random, like the Africa thing, like, oh yeah, I'm going to Africa. It's like, yeah, you're coming to Zanzibar, right? It's like, oh yeah, might as well. So yeah, it just kind of spontaneously happened, and there we were sitting in Zanzibar. It was a little bit unreal, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't feel real, but yeah, it was.
Put a ring on it, bro.
Put a ring on it. Yeah. Don't tell her
that. It's coming, you reckon?
No. Mate, we've been together like 3 weeks.
Mate,
a month.
That's enough for Adsy boy.
That's enough for you, eh? Yeah, be ringing it.
2-3 months,
yeah,
put a ring on it.
Gee whiz. No, mate, that was an accident. My parents were never together. I don't know what marriage is.
So you obviously then, you were deprived of a bit of tender loving care. You didn't really meet any African women and have a good time? No. Sophia was, get over here right now.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, fly over here, yep. No, honestly, man, I the African girls, no. I'm not going to say anything else. It just wasn't, like, also I'm cycling, do you know what I mean?
It's not your flavour, you're filthy,
Yeah, I'm dirty, I'm cycling, yeah.
Fair enough, bro.
It's not it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another question.
Yeah,
were you ever in danger of getting kidnapped over there? I know there's some ransom situations.
No. Well, not that I know of.
Did you hear of stories like that or not?
No, not really. Honestly, man, even all the things you kind of hear about Africa are just not really true. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Even country to country, you hear people saying things and they're not true. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, you get to one country and you hear them say, oh, no, you can't go there. Like, the people are dangerous and violent and hostile. And you get there and they, like, cook your feed. Or do you know what I mean? You're always hearing, like, people talking about other people, about kind of things they've heard about that place. But they've never been there and they've never experienced it. And I would say 95% of the times you get there and it's totally not true. It's not to say that things like kidnappings and things like don't happen. And maybe the probability is higher there, but no, I never felt kind of unsafe. And I think you can tell also when people are talking shit, or when someone's like, yeah, I was just there, like, don't go there, they're shooting each other.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, fair.
I trust you.
Yeah. So yeah, like Sudan, obviously now they're having a bit of a civil war there. Well, quite a big one. But in Sudan, you could, when I was there, obviously before, you could feel the tension there for that coming, and you could see that had violence in the past. In driving around in the city, there was buildings falling down, there was cars that had bullet holes, and you could be like, oh, like, there's real potential here, and you could feel with the people, like, you chatted to the people, that there there was something kind of building, and yeah, that's kind of unleashed, been kind of unearthed now in a tragic way. So yeah.
Why has the civil war happened?
Poor. It's a big question, and I'm definitely no expert on it. But I think what I do know, in a nutshell, is the kind of younger youth in Sudan are wanting democracy, and I think they got rid of their dictator in the mid 2000s, and it transitioned over to a kind of a military hold over the in the government. Like they have two different forces, like a paramilitary and the actual military. These guys are like, yep, we're going to lead the transition into democracy, and they basically held the country. They said, no, actually, we're not going to give you democracy, we like it. And now basically this guy with the paramilitary force and the other guy with the actual army are fighting it out to be the top dog.
Right.
And these guys are going head to head to be the leader of the country, because there's not space for the two of them. And there's a lot of other issues too that I haven't even mentioned, and I won't, because I don't know enough about them to comment on them. But yeah, basically these two guys are going at it for leadership. And
they've built up some sort of army as well of people, of locals, of people who want each person in their.
So one is the leader of the actual military of Sudan.
Yeah.
And one is the leader of the paramilitary, which was like a sub-military group created by the previous, I suppose he was a dictator, for other purposes. I think the main purpose of its origin was to be a force to fight in the south of Sudan, where they had some violence with the militias, I believe, and rebel groups. And for whatever reason, that this particular force needed to operate outside of the military.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, I don't know why, they needed to create this new paramilitary to go down there. And that was where the problems kind of begun, because one guy said, we need to merge the paramilitary under the military, and you're going to be kind of under me, and we're going to be kind of one country. Now the guy's like, no, we're going to be our own thing. And anyway, I think the dispute started over the time frame that there was going to be mergence between the paramilitary and the actual military, and kicked off. So yeah, they're fighting it out for leadership in Sudan at the moment, which is sad, because Sudan is a beautiful place and really friendly people, and I love Sudan. It was one of my favorite countries. So to see, I think they have thousands of refugees fleeing across different borders and people dying and the works, So yeah.
So you wouldn't be even trying to touch that place at the moment.
No.
It's just a genuine flat out war zone now.
I haven't been following it, but I think most of the fighting is in around Khartoum, which is the capital city, and you wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. Yeah, you would. Not even the non-government organizations who are providing aid, or who provide aid to war-torn, poor, whatever your third world countries. They're not even there. They're waiting until the war settles or slows down or reaches some kind of standpoint before they can actually go in and provide aid. So no one's going there.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sad, eh?
Sad, yeah.
Yeah. Here's a philosophical question for you.
Go on.
Going to a place like Africa, witnessing what you witness, what do you see there? Do you see more happiness than when you come back here?
Yeah, I do. And you would have seen it too if you've been to kind of Asia. People who don't have much are a lot of the time kind of, I guess they live a simpler life, and they're just happy with the kind of things they have, and they seem happy to be alive just on a day-to-day basis, and you're not worried about getting the latest iPhone or getting this or getting that, or people generally seem to be, at least the people I interacted with, happier despite not having as much, and it then poses the question, what do you need to be happy? Which, is a big question. But also lots of unhappy people too. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to be the happiest person if your country's in poverty and you can't get this, or you can't get this for your family, and there's a war, there's famine, there's cultural issues, religious issues, there's lots of issues there also. But I think despite this, generally people are happier despite having what I would say are real problems, not bullshit problems about, not to say if you have bad mental health, that's despite it not being on the level of problems, not being as big a problem as someone who's starving or can't provide for their family. To you, it's the only problem that matters. It's the biggest problem. You can't see someone else's perspective about their real problems. So, but in general, people, I think, people will seem to handle it maybe better. I don't really know, but it's interesting.
Do you feel resent coming back? I know for me, growing up in India and then going back every few years, I see what you see. I see the poverty. I see the, difference in levels of happiness, in what people need, what people want, the suffering even they experience over there without complaints. They just get on with it. And then coming back here, sometimes I feel resent at people complaining about minor issues, about whatever this is, or I can't get this, or... Do you feel frustrated now coming back and listening to that stuff, or do you kind of acknowledge it and accept it the same as you would in a country like Africa?
No, I don't feel resent. I think mainly because I would say it's... people have different perspectives, do you know? You can't blame someone for complaining about this when they have kind of no real perspective of what real world problems are, and what, if you grow up in this environment and you have the things you need and you have everything provided for you, that is a genuine problem for you, or you're complaining about this and it seems reasonable to you. If you don't have a perspective of what some people really have to go through. So I would say I don't resent them despite it being annoying. It's like, come on, man, travel a bit and get out in the world and realize that this is actually not an issue. It's an issue for you now in your privileged life, but people are having some real problems. So I don't think you can be resentful or angry at people that kind of have these attitudes. I just hope maybe they go and travel and see the world. I would say something that I resent more is people who don't get out there and give it a go. Do you know what I mean? Get out there and see what it's such a big world, man. And the more you travel, the less I feel like I know about things and cultures and people and places if you grow up in one place and do the same old thing every week in, week out, and you're going to have the same opinions and the same perspectives on problems. And like I said, and also like we talked about, your problems are the only ones that seem real to you because you don't live in someone else's shoes, do you? So if you're feeling some way, that seems the biggest problem to you, despite it not being a massive problem on the scale of problems. So, yeah.
What advice would you give to someone looking to go overseas, to travel, do something like you're doing solo or with friends, but that just are struggling to get over this hurdle of booking the flight or really committing?
Just book it. Just book it. Don't plan it. Just book it. Do you know what I mean? It ties to this, but a good friend said to me, it was in regards to doing university work. Whatever time you allocate to the work, you always use all that time. Do you know what I mean? If you have a whole day to do your assignment, it'll take the whole day. You'll just fill the time somehow. Yeah. And I think relating to the kind of traveling thing, if you're overthinking it and planning, and you can honestly just wear yourself out and not get to actually traveling. Just book it and go, and turn up unprepared. If that, at least you're there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that would be my advice. Just go. Just book a flight and get on it.
Yeah.
And whether you've hiked before or cycled before or done anything, it doesn't matter. Just go. So, and you'll figure it out. You'll always figure things out. So that would be my advice.
It seems to be a theme for this podcast, whether it's, business people coming on and giving advice, or travelers, or I had a singer on the other week. And, I'd ask this question, what's some advice you'd give? And without failure, they've all said, just do it. Just do it. I think that's the most important lesson, bro, because, even me, literally 3 months ago, my perspective was, before you do it, perfect it. Be perfect about it. Research this much. Research for this amount of time. Do this. And, looking around at this studio, you can tell that was my perspective.
Yeah.
So, I had...
got the gear.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah.
I'd got the gear. I'd bought all this stuff. I'd wanted to be perfect. I'd set up every square inch of this room to look how I wanted it to look, without just realizing the importance of just starting. Because, your perfect might be someone else's shit. So I've realized that, within the first 10 episodes, my camera quality isn't going to look like Joe Rogan's or Chris Williamson's or whoever the best podcasters are out there. No matter how much I try to match them, the most important thing is just like me diving into this and then learning as I go. So I think that's valuable advice, bro. I think I'm keen to see that theme continue here.
I think it will. I think it transitions into a lot of things. Like just get your hands into it and give it a crack, and you learn from there. So
was that your mentality going into signing up something like the pearling boats? I'm just going to do this. Fuck it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's more the pearling boat thing was a new space, a new environment, and I didn't really care what I did. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whether it was pearling or digging holes in some cattle station in the middle of fucking nowhere. Do you know what I mean? It was more just I'm going to do something. So in a sense, I suppose just do something. And I learned, honestly, lots of skills from that, boating skills, and made some friends. And so, I just applied for the job. So I didn't know anything about boats or pearls and I come out the other side with new skills, new friends, new experiences. So, yeah.
You said that you hadn't had time to reflect on what kind of relationship you and your dad had, built through the years of traveling. But I'm wondering whether you've had some time to reflect on what you've learned about yourself through these trips.
I can do whatever I want, really. That's probably the one thing that I've learned. And with doing more things, you have more confidence to do other things. But you can really just do whatever you want. Is the thing that I've learned about myself. If I want to turn up to Africa with nothing and cycle, despite I can. And, if I want to do something else equally as kind of random and bizarre, I can do it. And I'm going to make mistakes, and there's going to be issues and whatever. But I can. The one thing I probably learned about myself is you can really do anything if you just want to do it. Sounds kind of cliche, but and I suppose that gives you confidence moving into other things. Do you know what I mean? Blow my bubble here a bit, but like cycling across Africa, what's turning up to uni and studying my degree is not really an issue then, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it gives me confidence to say, I can do that, no problem. Like if I've done something else, so. That would I suppose be my biggest thing, that I can really do what I want, and the only person standing in my kind of way is myself. So whatever I want to do, I'll do it. So and the confidence, obviously transitioning into doing other things, is something that I've gained. But that would probably be the biggest thing that comes to mind in terms of what I've learned about myself.
Knowing what you know now, if you do go back, would you pack some more jocks?
No.
No.
I'd take none because I knew I was going to shit them. So yeah, unnecessary, man. I'm back into wearing jocks now. Honestly, felt a bit strange when I chucked the first pair on. I was like,
you felt a bit too restricted.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here? But no, I would leave the jocks at home. If I was to do it again, I'd maybe get some shoes, man, because I did it in thongs, and it was just not thongs, kind of sandals. Sometimes my feet got all burnt and it was just, you get shit in your sandals, and it was a bit sus. So maybe I'll get some cycling shoes, or I hate to admit it, but yeah, some cycling apparel,
Yeah.
Not the lycra. I can't be that. Can't be that
something
guy.
to avoid the chafe, maybe. Surely you would have got some of that, or not really?
No.
No. Wow.
No. Well, yeah, when you're sitting on a bike seat, your legs are not actually rubbing together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's more you more get chafe on your asshole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sitting on the seat all day. It's more what can happen is you get sweaty.
Yeah.
And you get pimples down there,
Yep.
and then you have to sit on the seats. Not a good time. But what can you do? You're there to cycle, so you just have to keep going.
Yeah.
But I feel like I didn't really get this much because I didn't have any underpants. There was nothing to keep sweat in there. It just flew off me.
Gotcha. Wow.
So, yeah, maybe
that's some advice.
Maybe that's a go-to. That's a go-to. Yeah.
And before we go, Binksy,
Yeah.
is there any other stories that were just fascinating to you that you wanted to share?
Oh, any other stories? In regards to Africa.
Yeah.
Good.
Memorable, funny, fascinating, scary, anything.
Yeah, I would say maybe not a story, but if you want to go traveling in Africa, I think go to Uganda. I loved Uganda. Yeah. So much packed into Uganda in kind of a small country, amazing food, rainforesty. I mean, one week I saw rhinos in a sanctuary. Cycled through Queen Elizabeth National Park, which had lions and elephants and hippos, and I was kayaking on a lake the next week, which was gorgeous, and I saw gorillas there too. Beautiful country. But yeah, put me on the spot there, man. I don't know. After 5 months of traveling there, it's hard to pick out something because I have I feel like I've been doing so much that it's nothing really sticks out to me. I'm sure there's something, but yeah, at the minute I can't bring it up.
Where's your next traveling adventure going to be?
That's a good question. Traveling, a lot of the time you're chatting to other travelers and you hear about cool things that you want to do. So I spoke to one guy and he was talking about ocean rowing, which I had never heard about. They row from Namibia to the Caribbean in these fiberglass ocean rowing boats. And they just live out in the sea for a couple of months. And yeah, it looks sick. I'd love to do that. And there's actually a young Australian guy. I don't know his name, but shout out to him. He is ocean rowing from Peru back to Brisbane. He's a Brizzy fella. And yeah, built his own boat. And I only saw a video on him the other day. Or another thing I would also like to do is the Panmure Trail, I think. It's part of the old Silk Road in Central Asia. It's quite a hotspot for four-wheel driving and bike riding. It runs through kind of Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and another one of them. But yeah, it's gorgeous. It's dirt. It's one of the only paths through the mountains there. So I'd like to run it actually, just for something different. A lot of people cycle it, but I can't. I honestly, I don't want to be on a bike anymore. I need a couple more trips away from cycling before I can cycle again. Yeah. So maybe I'll go do that. I think it's 1,500 Ks, so I'll spend a month or two running that. And then, yeah, maybe do the ocean rowing after my degree, because I think that's, you can take 5-6 months doing that. I don't have that kind of time now, so yeah.
Well, what is it with this running and cycling thing? You said it's not for fitness, so why else are you
It's just a fun way to travel, man.
Yeah.
It's just a challenge, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's too easy it's just not exciting to turn up at a resort where you wake up and someone's already cooked your breakfast and you sit on the deck chairs all day and read your book. Like, I have more fun running in Afghanistan, hungry, cold, and in pain than I ever would sitting in a hotel in the Maldives. Do you know?
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it, but yeah, I get so much more enjoyment out of that than the opposite. So
Yeah.
for me, that's what I like to do when I'm on holiday. Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a thrill seeker?
No.
No.
Oh, no.
No.
I mean, thrill seeker. No. I'm not in it for like the
Adrenaline
to
rush.
get hyped. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I just like to travel like that because I feel like you're getting a real experience of the culture and the people and the place, and at the same time you're challenging yourself, which after you challenge yourself, maybe you develop some way or maybe you don't, but you have a great experience and you feel like you've been up against something. Do you know what I mean? And you get a sense of, I think, satisfaction from being challenged and then achieving things. So, yeah.
Dude, thanks for coming on.
No worries, man.
I've been smiling teeth to teeth. The people won't be able to see it through this because the camera will be on you most of the time.
Yeah, we love it.
I'm just in awe of you, man. And I'm sure I can't wait to share this with my audience, however big they may be. But small, I should say.
Yeah, mum and dad.
Yeah. But dude, I can't wait to share this. I think people are gonna cherish this, and I think this is gonna be inspirational for a lot of people who want to go and travel.
Maybe, man. It's not. Yeah, do it. Yeah.
So thanks for coming on, dude. I'm keen to catch up
Man,
with you.
it's been good. Yeah.
Thanks, bro.